and so be it. So I just would like to recollect with one another. Thank you for that. I just would like to recollect with one another that last week Kirsten gave us an amazing talk entitled Case Studies in Prevention, a Psychotherapy Approach to Obsession, right? And very well done. I would like to invite everyone to please rewatch it if you watched. Please watch it if you haven't yet. That is perhaps one of the, I would say, pillars for what Alba will talk about today, the quiet pandemic, a spiritist view of suicide, right? That we know that in many cases, many of the issues that you have that leads into obsession, severe cases, sometimes things that we think that is not so severe, right? But it is because it can lead into what Alba will be talking about today. With no further ado, Alba, thank you for your time, your effort to talk about this, because we know it's not easy whenever we get into this topic, but we hope that you can succeed with all of us here and bring us this enlightenment to all of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, dear friends. Welcome one more time to the Spiritist Society of Baltimore. As Leo was mentioning, this is not... Can you hear me? Okay. What about now?
1 second, Alba.
Okay.
Go ahead and try it now, please.
I was saying that,
No,
hello,
we can
dear
still
friends.
not hear her, Daniel. Is it?
No? Okay.
One moment.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Can you say something, Alba? Hello?
I can say something.
Now we can hear you. Thank you. So please go ahead. Thank you.
Okay. Hello, dear friends. Welcome to the Spiritist Society of Baltimore. As Leo was mentioning, this is not an easy topic, but it is a necessary topic that we need to talk about it, because we cannot turn our faces to something, to a reality that is currently happening at this very minute. And we want to let you know that this presentation, as all the presentations in a Spiritist Center, has a therapeutic component. However, today it was strongly advised by the dear spiritual companions that are helping us to put the presentation together, that this presentation is going to serve to different groups of people. People who are grieving the departure of a loved one because of suicide. People who is recovering and is actually they are in the spirit world. There are spirits that are there at the Spirit Society of Baltimore receiving this presentation as a therapy, as a shock therapy sometimes, and getting to know or affirming some of the ideas. And also, this is a space for us to understand and to get the strength when we hear someone next to us, family member, a neighbor, a co-worker, just threatening with a suicide attempt. We need to take this seriously, and we need to take some steps. So we're going to bring some practical tools that you learn in a mental health first aid class. And we're going to bring some insights from Spiritism. And we start talking and we forgot to put the timer. Here we go. So allow me to share the presentation. Okay, here we go. And why we say this is a quiet pandemic? because we're going to see some numbers in the following slides, but there is still not enough data that we can collect people from the National Institute of Mental Health that they can collect about intentions and attempts or suicide, because people don't go on the streets saying this, right? And because in it's also, we are going to bring some data worldwide. Not everybody reports this because of culture, because of different beliefs in society, that suicide is still something that you need to hide because it will bring shame to the family. So it's quiet because as of right now it's around us and it's happening and nobody talks about it, but we need to do it. We want to start with this message that was psychographed in 2004 at the Spiritist Group of New York Spiritist Center. And it is called My Son, from the book Those Left Behind by Jussara Korngold. Not to put us in a blue, sad mood, but just to put us in the right mind to see what we're going to see. It's called My Son. Once you departed, my tears have never ceased. My heart fell apart, my still eyes lost in the horizon. It was your choice to leave us behind, to depart without a kiss, not giving us a chance to make you change your mind, thus leaving us in a desert without bliss. Oh, my dear one, my life will never be the same. Where did I fail? Why was I not able to support you and to give you the strength to withstand the struggles of life? Oh, flesh of my flesh, rebellious spirit, I wish you could have come to me more often, to open up your heart and to find shelter in my love. Now, my son, my thoughts are only for you. My life is your life. My prayer, a single cry of help, so that the merciful Creator may give us the chance to trail the same path again. I will look after you forever. I will assist you like never before, but this time I will not lose you to the dark shadows of despair. God is love. God is forgiving. My love accompanies you now and forever. Because love, we know, transcends space and time, and the love of a mother will be always the love of a mother, no matter the time, no matter how many reincarnations, is always there. We want to share this with you, with the audience, and to whoever is going to watch this video in the future. If you are having suicide ideations, please call 988. There are languages in English and Spanish, and it's 24/7. Please, this is the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. And we're going to show this slide a couple of more times during the presentation. So we're going to start with the definition of suicide. And we go again to the book Those Left Behind. Suicide can be defined as an intentional and uncoerced self-killing in which the conditions causing death are self-arranged. And this seems very cold, almost like a statistic, but it is important to define because there are situations in which people is being obliged, cursed, to kill themselves for so many reasons. There are some other situations in which people have severe mental health issues in which their minds, their selves, they are not there. And we're going to see later how also a spiritual obsession works there. But when so in these situations, actually there is not like an intention of the individual to end with his or her life. Suicide is when the individual consciously decide to cut the lines of life, to cut the connection between the spirit and the body. And this is the definition that we're going to keep using during the presentation. Okay? Some numbers. We went to the US Center for Disease Control and Prevention. They have numbers from 2023, not from last year, but just for us to see, 49,000 people died by suicide in 2023, meaning is one death every 11 minutes. There are many that have thinking about it, about 13 million. About almost 4 million of people made a plan for suicide, and 1.5 million attempt suicide. When they attempt, meaning that they try, but something went wrong and they were rescued. Went wrong between quotations, like they couldn't conclude the act. For us, something went well. We'll see why. So the World Health Organization, they are telling us that more than 20,000 people die around the world due to suicide. And the main populations are teens and young adults between 15 and 20 years old, 29 years old. They also talk about low and middle income countries, that 73% of the global suicides occurs in these countries. However, we know that statistics in these countries are very high. And even though we're not middle or low income country, right? And there are so many reasons for suicide. And it's difficult to point out why. And that's one of the things that also brings a lot of sorrow to the families, like the poem that with which we start the presentation. Because it's the mother saying, you left us without a kiss, but I wanted to know, what did I wrong? And this is a very common sentiment and emotion in the closest circle of the people who passed away because of suicide. Someone feels like I could do some more, I could help, I could hear, but actually we were going to see, and we're going back to the definition, this is something that the individual intentionally decide by him or herself. And as we know, we cannot control other people, actions, words, or thoughts. We only can control ourselves, but it's not possible to help. And for every suicide, there are many more people who attempt suicide. And it is true that one attempt, it can trigger more and more attempts. Also, it is true, like let's say in a family, the uncle passed away because of this reason. It's like giving a cultural example of what can be done when you are in a dire or difficult circumstances that you don't see the way out. So it can skip one generation, or in the same generation, someone's also start having this ideation. Like, okay, my uncle so-and-so did it, why I won't do it? Or my friend, or my co-worker, whoever. And we were thinking actually in the school, we work for the public school system in Anne Arundel County. One of the things, sadly, we have witnessed this in middle school. A boy took his life during the summer break. Then when we came back, it took an enormous planning and an enormous work and energy of all of the adults embracing these kiddos. And some of them, they express that since so and so did it, why I won't do it. Right? So it's something that we will say is like a virus that is contagious, but it is not. It is not. And in Joanna de Angelis, the first reading, if you remember, chapter 186, it talks about the importance of the family and the influence of these adults in the lives of the children. Because there is when we can plant that seed. And actually, in the Spirit's book or yes, in the Spirit's books, it says, well, what is the main role of parents or whoever has the role of a parent? And it is to bring that spirit, that child, closer to God. Bring the child closer to God. Meaning that if we focus and we pay attention in our family circle, right? When we have little kids, when we have teenagers, when we have even young adults, and we continually thinking in that goal of bringing him or her close to God, we are providing them with the tools that they can use later when life is throwing them a curveball, when life is not pretty and is mess and is undesirable, because then they have inside of themselves this moral seed that is going to grow and is going to fortify them and to give them the strength to go through the situations. Now we continue asking the question, why? What would lead one to desire to end one's own life and leave loved ones behind? What incredible force is there that overcomes the will to live and the persistence to keep struggling? And the answer in the book Those Left Behind says, it is our understanding that of the greatest villains of suicides, in the majority of cases, in the majority, not everybody, is the false belief of annihilation, the total end of one's living breath. And they explain later how we are living in a materialistic society in which we don't contemplate the life of the spirit. We contemplate only the life of the body, the needs of the body, the instant gratification, that I need this and that right here and right now. But we are not promoting the life of the spirit. We are not aware in general that we need to nurture our soul. That as we give nutrition and we sleep, right? And we exercise to take care of the body, we also need to take care of the spirit. So when we don't have that notion, and in the book that we're going to mention later, Memoirs of a Suicide, the author Camilo Candido Botelho, he says that one of the things that, because he's actually is an autobiography, he actually commits suicides by the late 1800s. He says that one of the things that he discovered in the valley of suicides is that so many of the people, the spirits that were there, they were completely oblivion, completely far from the reality. They didn't know that they were spirits. And then they need to start building up through a lot of moral education, the concept and the acceptance that they are spirits. And we take this for granted, probably when we are among spiritists, right? Dear friends, when you have a chance to talk with someone, we spiritists, we don't impose, because that's not the style. We like to think, to discern, and to get to conclusions through the ideas that we are learning. But when we have the chance to let someone know that he or she is a beloved child of God, a marvelous spirit with so many reincarnations, that by itself is of great help, because we never know what is the struggles of that person. By providing this person with this idea, with this concept, we are giving him or her a tool to hold onto life. Then, in the Spirit's book, question 943, they says, where does the awareness of life that takes hold of some individuals without any plausible reason come from? So, where is this coming from? And the answer, it is the effect of idleness, lack of faith, and usually, we can pronounce the word satiety. Idleness, and probably when we have too much around us, right? That we don't see the reason of the purpose to work, which in the same book they define work as any useful action that is going to benefit me or benefit others. Lack of faith, by the same reason we were explaining before, is in the family home in which we develop these concepts. We are spirits, and the very first concept from Spiritism, there is God. God. Just knowing that there is God, there is a supreme intelligence, divine creator that is pure love, light, and love. That is a lot of comfort coming there. Right? So, all of us, we have a role in helping, contributing to end this pandemic at times that are very challenging for us. And therefore, as a planet, we are vibrating in these negative thoughts. We need to counterbalance that. Joanna de Angelis says in the book Happy Life that you won't be able to solve the world's problems. We are paraphrasing. Oh, but you are able to have influence in the circle in which you live or you remain. So we have a responsibility, my friends. We continue with the why, and the book in Memoirs of a Suicide. The Spirit Camilo says that in general, those who rush into suicide hope to free themselves forever from the troubles they believe to be unsolvable due to the weakness of their uneducated will. And we're going to pause here because we find also not only this concept in a Spiritist book, but we found it also in a medical in a medical article in which they determined that suicidal people, and this is the people that attempted, they didn't complete it, right? So then they're asking them, they don't want to end with their life by itself. They want to put an end to the suffering. When we were taking the class First Aid for Mental Health, there is a video that is very dramatic, but it's necessarily, and is this adult, 35, 40 years old guy who said that he living in New York, and before the Brooklyn Bridge have this protection, right, for people not to jump into the water to the Hudson River, if we are not mistaken. If I'm mistaken, please forgive me for my geography. Because New York, Hudson, okay. So the situation was, he was around 15, 16 years old. He was in a terrible situation with no parents around. He was basically homeless. um, suffering a lot. So one day he decided to take a bus and go to the Brooklyn Bridge. And he said, I'm going to jump from there. And actually, when he was on the bus, riding the bus, he wanted for someone, one single person, to approach him and say, hey, good morning. How you doing? And he said that he will talk to that person and turn back and not go back, not go to the bridge. But no one did it because we don't read minds. We are just humans. But just make us meditate about how far a good morning can go, and a smile can go, shaking a hand and saying, how are you? I see you. Anyways, he went there and he jumped. And he describes that when he was jumping, it seems like the time was becoming slow. And he saw himself falling from the bridge, going to the river in which he thought he was going down to the water and that's it. And actually, when you jump from that high, the surface of the water feels like you are jumping directly on the pavement. But when he was falling, he was thinking, I don't want to die. I don't want to die. Please, God, help me because I don't want to die. He wanted to kill his suffering. So he went down, people saw him, called ambulance, etc. He was rescued, a lot of fractures, and obviously he recovered. He was diagnosed with profound depression, so he needed the medication and everything that was needed for him to embrace life. But this example, that is a real life example, is telling us that we have, and we'll see that this deep in our instinct, in our conscience, we know that life is precious and we don't want to end life. It's the suffering. We're going to finish reading this. So, due to the weakness of their uneducated will, which often turns cowardly in the presence of the shame of discredit or dishonor, and form the anguishing regrets that stain their conscience as a result of actions committed in transgressions of the laws of the God and justice. So also there are situations in which we believe that if we are a successful businesswoman and all of a sudden I'm broke, totally broke, and because of culture or because of society, I'm thinking that I'm going to shame my family because I fall very down in that economic situation. So it seems like a suicide is the solution. So I won't bring dishonor to my family, which actually is the contrary. So in question 944, Kardec asks, do people have the right to take their own life? And we put it in bold. No, only God has that right. No, only God has that right. Those who voluntarily commit suicide commit a transgression against the law. And therefore, where we are against God's law, we will receive the consequences of that. And we'll see in Camilo's case. God is pure love. God won't punish us. We will. The consequence of our act. So again, 988. Please call if you are in need. And we definitely need to bring spirit obsession. And there is plenty of literature in the spiritist literature about spirit obsession. What is obsession? Is a persistent constant negative influence from one spirit to another. They could be both discarnates or discarnate to incarnate or two incarnates. There is a persistent negative action over someone else. So also we know that we attract what we think, what we say, what we act. We attract those who are like-minded. So if we are very happy and we love to wake up every day and say, oh my goodness, I'm still on planet Earth. Phew. And we have this mood, not talking about this uh, living positively all the time because it's not possible, but knowing that life is precious and is an opportunity, and knowing that getting a reincarnation on this planet is difficult, my friends. There are lines of spirits waiting to come and to reincarnate, to have another chance, another opportunity. So why are we going to waste this reincarnation? So when we are thinking in helping others, in serve others, in do good to others, we're going to attract the spiritual company that is going to help us to get to those goals. And some people, they say, just put positive thoughts in the universe and the universe will respond to you with yes. Yes, it's the law of action and reaction. Whatever I put out there, I will get it back. So if we start in this cycle, this mentality of being down, of being blue, of we are going to attract that kind of spirits, and also spirits that they don't want us to grow and to progress. They want us to be like mentally slave to the lowest emotions of this planet. Yes, there are weak spirits. They are. They are. They exist. And as Kristen mentioned last week, the case of the gentleman who was dying of tuberculosis, in which previous life he enjoyed torturing people. Yes, they are. And they are in a different level of evolution. We're not going to judge. So these spirits connect, pluck to us, and start whispering in our spiritual eyes, you better be die. The world will be better without you, etc., etc. And we believe that. Again, because we ignore, we don't know that we are spirits doing this internship in a physical body, and that we have constant communication with the spirit world. So definitely a big piece of mental illnesses and a big piece of suicides and attempts of suicides is because the spirit obsession. And in the book that Kirsten brought last time, Facets and Patterns of Spirit Obsessions by Manuel Filomeno de Miranda Spirit and Divaldo Franco, they say that spirit obsession is a clamorous social disease dominating modern thinking, flowing from the reigning decadence fostered by the mechanics of materialism. Again, materialism, disguised as grand idealism that inflame minds and anesthetize feelings. So if we think that when the body disappears, right, we recycle our body in the ground or whatever is the ritual, if we think that that's the end of the story, we are in a big problem here, because it is not. And also, it is important for us to discern and to see what is truth and what it is not. So it is okay to have ideals, and it is okay to want a better job. It is okay to have a better place to live. That's part of progress. But also we need to be aware not to blind ourselves and thinking that those are the only goals for our life. We need to cultivate the life of the spirit. So here we go to Camilo's case. So Camilo, after he discarnated because he committed suicide in January 1891, he says that he found himself being held in an area of the invisible world. He describes this area like a desolate landscape that was comprised of deep valleys that were continuously enveloped in shadowy darkness. And one of the affirmations that call our attention is, my suicide obviously could not have killed me because I was still alive, completely alive. So what happened when someone commits suicide? Because it's not his or her time yet, so the spirit goes to this valley of suicides that was created by the mercy of God, and is the main manager is Mary of Nazareth. But this valley of suicides, and we do respect for those who are grieving a loved one, but the valley of suicides is a horror movie. Moral suffering, continuous moral suffering, continuous remembrance, remembering how they did commit the suicide, continuously physically feeling whatever it was the way, the uncomfortable, the pain, and they are self-absorbed all the time. So there are thousands of souls that are suffering day and night, and therefore their vibrations, their thoughts are so dark and so painful that the landscape reflects this pain. It is so dark that you need actually to light a light, and even though you don't see. So the suffering there is very intense. And moreover, because they need to remain in that valley, and here the key word is held. They're held there, they're held there, and they need to stay there for the remaining time that they needed to complete their reincarnation. So let's say I am 50 years old. I am not, but I'm 50 years old, and I'm supposed to live until 60, and I commit suicide. So I will be held there for 10 years. And because there is this strong connection between the physical body and the spiritual body, remember, we are spirits. Spirit have a perispirit or spiritual body, and then we have the physical body. And the three of them are connected, strongly connected. So there are also physical sensations, not only of pain, but hunger and thirst and everything in between. So they, spirits, the good workers, they are holding all these suicide spirits in this valley there to not disrupt with the natural cycle of life in the planet, because they went against that love of life, right? The love of God. So therefore, there is a disruption. It's like I don't know, with electricity. You just suddenly cut it. It's like, bzzz, and you burn your computer. So they need to hold them there so they don't disrupt with the rest of the vibration around the planet. That is not pretty, right? But we're still incarnated. We still have the hope of doing good things. But hope is not lost. Uh, Camilo also noticed something very peculiar. And this was this light of light. He called it like a filament that was a luminous cord that was dangling from them, for all of them, like some sort of cable that was made of electrical wires. And this cable was snapped violently. So if you're thinking in the silver cord, yes, it is. So the silver cord is this cord full of energies that connect us, the physical body from the spiritual one. And when we are sleeping, our body is resting, but our spirit goes to the spirit world to do whatever is necessary. And we're having our silver cord that help us to go different places, but then come back to our body. But when this silver cord is snapped abruptly, there are so many energies there that need to be used. It's like a battery full of life, a brand new battery. So because of that connection, that is why the spirit feels everything that is going on with that physical body. And you can make the conclusion by yourselves, what happened with the body that is dead. What is the natural course of life there? Sadly, they are feeling it in their perispirit. So then in the Spirit's book, it says, question 957. In general, what are the consequences of suicide on the state of the spirit? The consequences of suicide vary widely, and this is important, friends. No every single case is the same. This happened to Camilo, but for other people, it could be different because there's sometimes something that is called attenuation. It has to be with the circumstances, how and why they commit suicide. So among them is the persistent link that ties the spirit to the body, the silver cord, and which is almost always at its full strength when prematurely ruptured, unlike natural death, that with natural death, there are spirit workers. They are coming to help us to detach little by little, molecule by molecule, because we are connected that way, right? Just detaching. Or even if it's an accident, a sudden accident, they are there helping to detach so we can free the spirit, can be free from the physical body. In the suicide cases, there is no this help because they're acting by themselves, by their own conscience. And we were saying not everything is a calamity, and not everything is suffering, because God is a merciful God, because life is precious and beautiful. So natural things happen. Once this spirit that stayed there for 10 years, 15, 5, whatever it was necessary, then they're being rescued from the valley of suicides, and they're taken to the Mary of Nazareth hospital, in which trained spirit doctors and nurses and therapists start the process of moral re-education. And Camilo narrates that the nurses approached us, our beds, and talked caringly with each one of us. and they touch our tormented foreheads with hands so delicate and so snow white that they seem translucent. They arrange our pillows and urging us to rest as they pull the covers over our freezing bodies, because actually feeling cold and freezing is one of the characteristics in the Valley of Suicides. They whispered in a tender and suggestive tone that immediately brought a heavy drowsiness over us. You need to rest. You can rest now without concern, my friends. You are guests of Mary of Nazareth, the sweet mother of Jesus. This is her hospital. And it's an entire journey to get there. In the Valley of Suicides, they can't sleep, they can't rest. But once they are rescued and they are brought to the hospital, they start this process of recovering not only the energies of their perispirit, but also, and they need to be willing to accept the moral education. There are classes, there are talks, but they are being asked, we're going to do this. Would you like to go? And there is a case in the book that he say, no, I don't want to go. I don't want to go to listen to that speaker. Now that I'm feeling okay, I just want to go back to Earth and see where my family is. But this is a different case because there is free will, the respect of the free will. And it is because of the free will that they put themselves in a situation, and also because of the free will, they are going to put themselves in a different state, a transformed state of mind. Then he narrates the preludes to a reincarnation, a place of hope. So there are different cases, as in the Spiritist book, they mention not everybody who takes his or her life is the case is the same, right? There are some spirits that are in such a state of mind that trying to provide them with a shock therapy, that is how this shock therapy happens. It happens in the mediumistic meetings when they use the vital energies of the incarnate people in the mediumistic meeting. But even though that shock therapy won't be useful for them, the most useful thing for them would be to reincarnate. So once they stay there the 10, 15 years, they are being moved to the department of reincarnation and they reincarnate right away. But some others, like Camilo, they have the chance because they are willing to educate themselves. And we love this excerpt from John's Gospel. Truly, truly, I tell you, no one can see the kingdom of God unless he or she is born again. You should not be surprised at my saying, you must be born again. Jesus. This is the beauty of reincarnation. And we're just going to read this, and we're about to wrap up. Camilo narrates that intense emotion come over our souls. So they are listening to a speaker with the deepest sentiments of admiration for those their figures who had been introduced to us, the teachers. Also, the figure of the Nazarene had been singularly presented to us, bringing so much comfort. Until then, he had seemed to us more like a sublime ideal, incomprehensible to human minds, than a real person capable of being understood and emulated by the ordinary man and woman. And this is a consequence of, we will call it miseducation, sometimes very religious fanaticism, education. We don't want to judge, but when we put Jesus like an unreachable model, so then Jesus cannot be near us, our heart, and bring us the comfort and the solace that we need. So that's one of the things that Camilo learned during his re-education in the spirit world. Please call if you are in need. So how can we help? And from the book, again, from Manuel Filomeno de Miranda. So individuals contemplating suicide definitely are in need of fraternal support, spiritual therapy, moral understanding, and specialized medical care. So definitely, friends, taking care of the spirit and taking care of the body, right? Some of them, these people, these individuals, they will need medication and some sort of psychotherapy. But also, spirit centers can provide fraternal support and the spiritual therapy with passes and with the fluidic water and intelligent sleep. But there is something else, and it's a step further. However, considering the severity of the problem, the most important and decisive factor falls upon the individuals themselves. Is when you go to rehab because you have addiction to drugs or narcotics or whatever, and the 12 steps that you go. The first thing that you need is to be willing to want it. If you don't want it, it doesn't matter that Jesus comes himself in front of you trying to convince you. You won't recover. You won't transform yourself. So they need to start with the change of their mental approach to life, followed by the determination to improve morally, to lift themselves above any deleterious vibrations, freed from the action and influence of the sick, disturbed, and disturbing spirits, swarming the psychosphere of the planet of trials and expiations in its process of regeneration. So they need to want this. And God respects free will and awaits for this to happen. And how can we help? Prayer. Camilo narrates. I'm going to show you the book. It's a heavy book. So it's a lot of information. Prayer was so important because some of the colleagues, friends that were there with him in the valley of the suicides, he noticed, he observed this tiny, like a drop, drops of water, something like a little diamond come over certain individuals, and he was clueless about it. He learned later that it was the prayers of people thinking about this person. So prayer helps. Prayer brings comfort to them that are already there in the spirit realm, and prayer will help those who are considering to, because it alleviates, it disperses this negative energy from the spirits that want to influence them. How can we help in a more practical way? And this is what we see in this slide is a 3 hours class, actually. But we're just going to mention, it's called Algae Action Plan. And algae are is the acronym. If you see, I don't have a, okay. If you see number 1, write ALGEE, algae. So assess for risk, check if the person is in danger or trying to harm himself or others. Listen, not judgmentally. Give full attention. Give reassurance and information. And we are using this while emergency people comes, right? We already dial 911. And we call an ambulance or we call the paramedics or whoever. So in the middle time, we are with the person. We don't let the person by him or herself. We don't abandon them because we don't know what can happen in 10 minutes and 5 minutes. So this is first aid. We are there just to support. Once the professionals come, we step out unless you are a professional. So give reassurance and information, basically offer kind words and simple facts to give hope, and we all can do that. Encourage professional help. Like, have you thinking of reaching out to uh, therapists, etc.? And encourage self-help. And this self-help is the key, right? We see it in the slide before of how they can transform their thoughts. We are at the end of our presentation. We are going to take a few more minutes to conclude. And we are very grateful to the spirits that inspiring us, that are providing us with the treatment and the strength that we need to continue. And we invite all of you uh, to join this prayer. Is at the end of the Gospel according to Spiritism in the collection of prayers. And this is the prayer for a suicide. And we also brought the psychograph picture of Mary of Nazareth. So right now we escaped the story, but Chico Xavier was involved in the situation. He wasn't the medium, it was someone else. But this is actually a psychograph picture of Mother Mary. So we invite you all to think in your loved one that already depart, or someone that you hear in the news, someone that you think is at risk. And with your minds, please follow the words. After the prayer, we are going to move to passes. We're not going to have questions and answers, okay? Oh God, we know the fate reserved for those who violate your laws by intentionally shortening their days. But we also know that your mercy is infinite. Deign to extend it over the soul of may our prayers and your commiseration soften the bitterness of his her suffering for not having had the courage to await the end of their trials. Good spirits, whose mission is to assist unfortunates, take him her under your watch care. Inspire him her with repentance for his or her wrong, and may your assistance give him her the strength to more resignedly bear the new trials that they will have to endure to repair it. Keep from them, keep from them evil spirits who may once again lead them into the fruit of their future trials. Keep from them evil spirits who may once again lead them into evil and prolong his or her suffering by causing him or her to lose the fruit of his or her future trials. You, whose misfortune is the object of our prayers, may our commiseration soften their bitterness and awaken in you hope for a better future. That future is in your hands. Trust the goodness of God, whose bosom is open to all those who repent while remaining should only to harden hearts. And so be it.